Suppose you are watching a film and on the screen you see a flag fluttering in the wind. Is it the wind blowing or the flag? We can say that the wind is blowing because the flag doesn't flutter for no reason without the wind. We can also say that the flag is blowing because we can't see the motion of the wind, but we see the motion of the flag. Or, if we want to be more precise, we could say that the wind and the flag are both in motion. This discussion is based on the two-dimensional world, the film on a flat screen. But you are sitting outside the film in a three-dimensional world. For you, neither the wind nor the flag moved. In fact, there's no wind or flag. There's no motion or motionless. All of them are light projected onto a screen. When we think this way, our perspective shifts from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. The dualistic view we had about flag and wind, motion and motionless, becomes less relevant in a three-dimensional world because they belong to the second dimension. Now, imagine this film changed from a two-dimensional projection to a three-dimensional one. Compared with the previous version, this three-dimensional film is more realistic. The color of the flag and the sound of the wind are more vivid and the experience is more immersive. We can discuss motion again, but the principle is the same. You can say the wind is moving, the flag is moving, or both. But suppose you are sitting in a fourth-dimensional world. To you, neither the wind nor the flag moved because there's no wind or flag, no motion or motionless. They are simply projections on a three-dimensional space. You see, it all depends on which angle you take when observing. When we stand on the same dimension as what is being observed, our perspective becomes dualistic. However, when we stand one dimension higher than what is being observed, the duality of the lower dimension becomes less important and eventually irrelevant. The same principle could also apply to higher dimensions. For example, between fourth dimension and fifth dimension and sixth dimension, up to the 11th dimension, which is the highest one, according to the current string theory and physics. It is relatively easy to transform the way of thinking from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. After all, it is just a flat projection on a plane. But switching to a higher dimensional mentality becomes hard when the dimension gradually increases and the experience becomes more immersive and complicated. You may ask why I use the example of flag and wind. It is because I want to share with you a story from the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, also called the Altar Sutra. It is a Chan Buddhist scripture written in China during the 8th to 13th century, centered on teachings and stories ascribed to the sixth Chan Patriarch, Wei Neng. It happened that, one day, when a flag was blown about by the wind, two monks entered into a dispute as to what it was that was in motion, the wind or the flag. As they could not settle their difference, I submitted to them that it was neither, and that what actually moved was their own mind. Here, one monk sees a flag blowing and says, "The wind is blowing." Another monk argues, "That's not the wind that's blowing, that's the flag that's blowing." The first monk says, "But the flag can't blow without the wind. You can see the flag, but not the wind." Wei Neng came in on the debate and said, "It's not the flag that's moving, and it's not the wind that's moving either. It's you monks' minds that are moving." Many people find Wei Neng's words difficult to understand, and there have been many different interpretations of the meaning of this story in history. But if you have understood the example of film and screen I talked about earlier, you are on the right track toward understanding the meaning of Wei Neng's word. Ideally, the monks should keep their minds in a higher dimensional state. But the two monks here were still lingering in the world of duality, so their mind is obviously attached to the three-dimensional space in which there is flag and wind, motion and motionless, good and bad. But if their mind is in a higher dimensional state and they observe this three-dimensional world, just like we observe a two-dimensional film, they would find that the duality and discrimination are less relevant. This is the higher dimensional mentality, and it is the key to spiritual awakening. I will explain this more in future videos. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the video, please hit the like button. And if you are new, hit subscribe and the bell next to it for future notifications.